Hello everybody, my name is Hal, this is Quail Studios Guitar. We are live. Thank you for coming. I don't think I've spoken very much today. Alright, I was trying to get my guitar here to work. It's coming through this mic, I know. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's coming. Good. All right. So the subject today is Led Zeppelin, The Who, ACDC used cowboy chords. Can you believe it? Well, I saw a couple of videos today. Rhett Shull, not today. Rhett Shull, Rick Beato. I've seen some people talk about cowboy chords. Cowboy chords, what are they? Well, generally, maybe I should go through sometime and actually see how many people or how many songs, especially songs on the charts, the country charts, start in G. All right, you guys can hear me okay? So yes, it's 50 degrees here where I am this morning. I'm actually in Idaho. And it's warm, but tomorrow it's supposed to be below freezing, I think. Well, anyway, but it's kind of warm. We've got a little warm spell. Thank you, Dean, for coming, and Bob, and Mike, and Albert. Hello, Albert, from the Netherlands. It's good to see you, and all of you. So we're going to talk a little bit about these chords. Let's put them on the screen. There's an A chord. Okay, a lot of times we talk about, people say something about cowboy chords and they're talking about open position chords. G or A, there's an A, there's a D, right? Here's a G, E, E minor, C. There's another G. Let's talk about that one in just a minute. Okay, let's go back to the D chord. We're going to talk about these chords in relation to how they're used and what's going on there. Some people, in fact, I was watching a video this morning of let's see, Simon and Garfunkel. I'm working on Mrs. Robinson. And this is the way that Paul Simon played it. He played it with a capo, open E string. Now, that's a great sound, especially these hammer-ons. And the capo, actually, this is a F sharp chord now. Looks like an E chord, but because of the capo, it's an F sharp. Well, a lot of times we use a capo to help us with the sounds and the things that we're doing. I need to cut that a little bit because it's a little bit loud in my ears. So let's go to our D chord again. Now, if we play a bar chord like this, right? I'm just playing the 4 inside strings. Looks like an A chord, but it's up on the 5th fret. I'm really only playing that A string, 5th fret right there. That's a D note. Now listen. It's the same chord. Has a little bit different sound, doesn't it? And one of the reasons it does is because these same notes, when we play it as a bar chord, the strings are shorter, and so it has a different timbre. You can say timbre too, either way, timbre, timbre. Now, when you play a bar chord, you have a lot of control over what that sounds like, because I can stop the sound with my left hand. Now, on the open position chord, it's harder to stop that open string right there, that D string, from stopping, unless I stop it with my right hand or my left hand somehow. But here I have complete control. How about the A chord? Here's the A chord. Now if I play the bar chord on the 5th fret, let's play the first from the low string up to the B string. Okay, now let's play the open position chord. It's exactly the same notes, except the open position chord has longer strings, it has a couple of open strings. But if I play this, that's a sus4, right? But I play it as a bar chord. If I play it as an open position chord, it sounds like this. Right? Same notes. Same sound except for those longer strings. Now, the problem with playing the open position chord is I don't have this A right here. Right? I only have... If I want to play the A, I have to reach up there. So I don't have that chord. I mean that note. All right, let's look at the next chord. G. This is the chord that you find in books, Mel Bay books or something like that. When you're learning to play chords, they say this is the G chord. A lot of times beginning players will say, okay, that's a G chord. And then you say this is a G chord. Or this is a G with a B bass, or this is a G chord, or this is a G chord. And they're like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? How can all those be G chords? This is a G chord, right? And we have in our minds a lot of times when we're starting out that there's only one way to play a chord, because we really don't know. We don't understand how chords are made and what's going on with them. So we think, okay, this is a G chord. And then you throw a curve and say, no, this is a G chord too. I had a student ask me the other day, what do I do if I'm playing an E chord like this? What if I put that 4th fret right there? What if I add that note? What is it called? I can't play it like that. If I do that or something. But he asked, what if you put that 4th fret note up there and then you're playing an E chord at the same time? What do you call the chord? He wanted to know the name of it. Well, the name of the chord comes from the notes in the chord: E, G sharp, and B. And I can basically play that with 3 fingers, like that. This is a G sharp. Just putting a G sharp on the top doesn't change the name of the chord. It changes the look of the chord and the sound of the chord, but it doesn't change the name of the chord, really. It does change the name of the chord if you change the bass note. Okay? So if I only play 5 strings and start on that B string right there, the A string with the B note, then it's called an E chord with a B bass. So anyway, this G chord, now I don't love this G chord as a chord. In fact, this one here, let's see if I can find that one. That one right there. That Rick Beato says that he plays and he teaches this chord as the G chord for beginners. Okay, I play that one very seldom, and I'll tell you why. I go back to, there's a G chord that I play all the time, like that. I'm going to talk about why. There's another G chord there with only 4 strings. But let's go back to this G chord. Okay, it's got 3 G's in it, like that. It's got 2 B's, and it's got 1 D. And the notes in the chord are G, B, D. Let's turn that up a little bit. Yeah, it's better. Okay, G, B, D. So the notes in this chord are like this on the piano. I don't think you can probably see that very well. But this is middle C right here. And here's the octave below middle C. Now I don't hear guitar players talking, bump, bump. I don't hear guitar players talking about this next concept that I'm going to talk about in just a second here, but it's really important. Pianists talk about this all the time. The C below middle C, as soon as you start to do thirds, major thirds, minor thirds, there's a major third, minor third, major third, minor third, major third, major third, minor third, minor third, major third. As soon as you start to get below that C, what happens? Especially way down there, the notes get really muddy and it's hard to tell what the notes are. Now you can break, now what I tell my pianists, my piano students is, when you get below C, don't play minor and major thirds really close together. Well, that's the only way you can play them, right? Like that. You don't play a C chord down there because it's all muddy and you can't tell what it is. Right here with the C as the bottom note, the C below middle C, that's fine. It's lower. Now, Beethoven actually broke that rule that I tell my students. He did this. And he played a C minor chord with all these low notes. Right? And you can do that if you want the dark, ominous sound. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to that G chord, because we're talking about that. The G and the B, those two notes, they're below that C below middle C. These two notes here. What's interesting about the guitar is that those two notes don't growl very much on the guitar. See, it actually sounds okay. And it sounds pretty good on the piano. Starting to growl just a little bit. But when you don't need two Bs in your chord. And that's why Rick Beato says, let's put our ring finger on the 3rd fret B string and change that B note, instead of having these two Bs, into a D note, right? But he has those low, the G and the B. Then you have this low growling, almost growling bass line, bass notes. So what I do, I take this chord, that chord right there, and I turn it into that, no, not that chord right there. What I do is I take this finger and I let it touch that A string and I eliminate it. And one of the reasons I do that is because the bar chord, the first low notes, when you go from E to the D, E to the G string, if you play the G chord this way, the notes are exactly the same. Of course, you got 3 open strings, there, there, and there, so it has a different sound instead of like this. And then you've got a D and a G. When you play this, you've got G, D, that's your D right there, G, B, and then you have the G on top, just like you had on the bar chord. Now, if you don't go all the way through, you're actually getting the same notes in the same order, and right, you get kind of a bar chord sound with an open sound. Now, on the thumbnail for this video, if you looked at it, there was 3 players that I put on there. One was Angus Young. He was playing a D chord in that picture. Jimmy Page was playing a C chord. We haven't talked about the C chord, have we? Let's go to the C chord for a second. Jimmy Page was playing a C chord in that picture. And Pete Townsend was playing a D chord, right? Pete Townsend was really famous for doing this windmill with his arm, right? Especially, I think it was it on My Generation or Behind Blue Eyes or Won't Get Fooled Again? I don't remember which, especially one of those. I think it might have been Behind Blue Eyes by The Who when he was doing that windmill stuff. But anyway, so the D chord, remember we did this. Same notes, A chord, G chord, especially those four. Okay, so you can get the same sound of those bar chords in these open position chords. Now this C chord, let's talk about this C chord, okay? It has a C, E, G, C, E like this. But the bar chord, I'm not doing it with, a lot of times I'll do it with my ring finger and I'll mute that E string. See that E string doesn't come out. So I get this sound right here. Right? I don't get that G, oh no, let's see, what is that? Yeah, I don't get that G note. I usually just get the C, G, C, E. That sound right there. If you want that sound on this chord, what you do is you eliminate this E string right here. Not E string, D string, the E note. So I just either touch it lightly with my middle finger, my second finger, or touch it lightly, or both. Touch it lightly with my ring finger as I come down like that. A little tricky to do that because you got to really get off of that E string to be able to play it as you mute the D string. Same sound though. Okay, so you can get those sounds. All right, let's see. E minor. Love these chords. They sound so good. E, of course, we kind of talked about E. That's not a bar chord, right? But you use that as the basis for a bar chord. Let's talk about this just for a second. The reason these open position chords are so important is because these shapes that we use, the E shape, the A shape, the A minor shape. You know, I didn't put an A minor on here. There it goes. A minor, the bar chord A minor, and this open position chord A minor, same notes, right? I love that sound. Let's see here. Let's go to this chord right here, this G chord, 4-string G chord, right? Instead of 5 strings. Another reason I like these open position chords is because when you go from a D chord to a G chord like that, we're going from a 4-string chord to this G chord right here that we see on the screen, the 4-string chord. I'm pointing to it, right? I'm trying to the angle of the camera and everything in the screen. It's kind of funny. Okay, so this D chord, going to a G chord, the voice leading, and I'll talk about this in a different video, the voice leading is absolutely perfect. Okay, and it's better than going than that because the voice leading is atrocious for this. Now, when I say atrocious, I don't mean it's bad. There's just a lot of parallel motion. And parallel motion, if you want parallel motion, that's great. But if you don't want parallel motion, then you've got a problem. Let me show you on the keyboard. Here's a D to a G. Okay, I'm just doing a big, what I call an expanded D chord. Or I could do a lower one. right? That's all parallel motion. But if I do a D chord to a G chord like this, okay, then I don't have parallel motion because my D chord, the top note goes up, the bottom note goes down, and that's called contrary motion. And that's what you have here. Your D note goes down to G, your high note, F sharp, goes to G like that, and you have good contrary motion. Contrary motion, oblique motion, you can find this in my book if you want to know more about it. It's in the theory section in the back. And parallel motion, those three different kinds of motion we have in music. Parallel motion is a weaker kind of motion. It happens all the time in rock music, and that's okay. It's not a problem. Right? Parallel motion. It happens, and it's okay. But if you want something more balanced, then you don't use those chords in that way. Okay, we've talked about this. We've talked about a little bit about voice leading. We just touched on it. We've talked about the fact that you can get the same notes with the open position chords and with the bar chords. Now, let's talk about one more thing. That's kind of a cowboy thing, right? Oh, you know what was really funny? I made a comment on Rick Beato's video, and I said, you know, I don't like the idea of calling these open position chords cowboy chords, because then it gives people the wrong impression, because Led Zeppelin used them all the time. And there was a guy, K. Major, said, Zepp was comprised of 4 highly skilled frontier cowboys. That comment cracked me up. I thought it was great. Yeah, I played at the beginning. G chord, D chord, G chord, D chord. This is like an E minor chord. G chord, D chord. Oops, I'm messing up. C chord, C with a B bass, and then it goes to a B flat. Oops, wrong chord. It's like a C chord, not really like a bar. Then it goes back to that again. They did this kind of stuff all the time. Really, you know, like... Oops. So when it goes D, A, G, A, G, D, A. I don't know if he did it exactly like that, but that's the way I do it. Maybe I'll teach that sometime. I've been thinking about it. Okay, thank you very much for being here. It's really great to have all you guys here. There's nobody making any more comments. Maybe you're just listening. Maybe you're typing. Maybe you're doing email. It doesn't matter. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Don't forget, you can support me by looking in the description. There's a link there to PayPal to make a donation. You can get my book that way. You can go over to Patreon. You can go over to Subscribestar. Different ways to support me. I also give online lessons, and I've got a couple more spots, but I just got 2 new lessons this week, so those are filling up fast. Anybody wants to take a lesson from me, you're welcome to do that, or a series of lessons, you can do that. All right, I got to go because I got hangout to do with my supporters. Appreciate them being here, and I will see you in just a couple of minutes. I need to, configure everything a little bit differently for the support hangout. Talk to you later, guys. Okay, see ya. Bye. Hey, Kenji. Says I just got here. Yeah. See you later.